If you're a frequent flyer on the Ferro City site, you've heard the words new technology and career advancement spoken and written thousands of times. The reason is that evolving tech drives the industry forward, and continuing to master the new tech drives your career forward. So, my next guest has understood this principle and has practiced it for years. At 35, he continues to master new tech, and his resume of working on the biggest gigs in the broadcast industry continues to grow. He is proof that the formula works. So, today we decided to take a snapshot of his last 3 months and talk tech and the gigs he's been on. Welcome, Frank Scacciaferro.
Thank you, and I appreciate getting the age right.
Yeah, and no secret that we're related. And I haven't. It's impossible for me to remember my kid's age. I don't know why, but it is. So I actually had to look it up before we went on. I asked you for a list of the last 3 months, and before we got started, I actually have to read this because it's hysterical. So we started in September. So on the 7th, it was the end of the U.S. Open. And then we did the first Giants post game. Not we, him.
And just to preface it, the Open was a month in itself.
Right. I could go back 6 months, and this list continues day by day, by week, by hour. So then after the Giants post game show, there was the Tower Cam fashion show. I'm going to have him explain all this, and we'll talk tech on all of it. Then it's back to the Giants postgame show. Then it's off to Thursday Night Football in Buffalo. Then it's back to the Giants postgame show. And Thursday Night Football, just for all of you, it's not Thursday night. These guys work the entire week. There's a travel day, there's 2 build days, there's the show, and then there's the strike. So it's a week every time I keep saying Thursday Night Football. So then it's back to Giants for postgame. Then there's a Devils game. Now we move into October. Then there's Bare-Knuckles boxing at Prue, which is insane in itself. Yeah. Then again, Giants postgame. And Giants postgame is Sunday, obviously. Then it's off to Thursday Night Football. Then he begins the ALS, the playoffs, ALCS. Yeah. And then it's Giants postgame on Sunday. Then it's back to Thursday Night Football in LA. Then it's drive to the Dodgers game to begin the World Series. Then World Series travel between LA and Toronto. Then in November, it's back to Giants postgame. Then back to Denver for Thursday Night Football. Then just the other night, it was Devils at Prue. And then this Friday, and this is where I'm going to end it because it continues to go. This Friday, Saturday is the dog show. And I had to add that because it's just such a whack thing to add into this list of huge events.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, that's one of the best ones though. That's one you look forward to every year.
Yeah, that's like cleaning the palate when you have a big dinner, and it's just you get ready for the it's take that break and then get ready for going forward. So in all of those gigs, there's all kinds of technology changing. So I'm going to go through the ones that are somewhat consistent, and let's start with. Well, I'm going to ask you, and then you're going to tell me what's different, and then we'll go through the actual tech. And then we'll talk a little bit about the challenges of those events and or if anything unique happened when we were doing it. So Giants postgame we've been doing for years. It's routine, but it has all its own technical challenges that have nothing to do with us. It's just the world around us continues to crash and fail, making our job way more challenging. So let's jump off that and go to Buffalo. First Thursday Night Football. What do you do at Thursday night? Your first.
My first week of Thursday. Yeah, because I do about half of the season. I split it with somebody else. I can't do the entire thing based on like like the schedule that you just read out. There's just other stuff that I dip in and out of. So, but yeah. So on Thursday Night Football, I operate two of the 4800 goal line 4K cameras. They are both Robos. They're full size Sony 4800s. That in each stadium they are built to be perfectly in line with the goal line on the game side, which is like where camera 1, 2, and 3. The game cameras on the near side of the field. So yeah, that sounds okay. You just got to put them in line with that. But yes, they need to be high up enough to be able to see the hole, and that is different. Excuse me. That is different in every single stadium. Fortunately, these are also done on Sunday Night Football. They're also done on Monday Night Football, and then obviously on our show, and some college games as well. So there's plenty of other crews of a part of like the Fletcher guys that we have photos for each stadium, the positioning and everything, and like kind of the mounts. But those keep updating as well, depending on if we're maybe moving a position or something like that. So yeah, the challenges with that is number one, knowing where these mounts are going. Number two, the weather of wherever we are. Thankfully, when we were in Buffalo, that it was early enough in September. I think it was like the second week of September or third week maybe. That it was really nice. But for that particular game, we're up on these pill boxes that go up. It's a really funny way to get to them. You have to go into the bathroom. You go up to the highest level of like where like the fans would be, and then you go into the bathroom, the men's bathroom, and then there is a locked ladder that you have to get the key for. Open up that ladder. This is in the bathroom, and you go up that ladder, out a hatch that goes onto the roof, and that's on both sides, which is just a hilarious thing. Ridiculous, funny, and you just have to find the humor in it because, like, think about it. Like, yeah, the setup's fine. There's nobody there. There's no one there, and it's all clean because no one's been there for 5 days. And you go up, you build your cameras, everything's good. Whenever you're going up and down these ladders, but for a strike, this is right after an NFL football game. So, if anyone's ever been to any sporting event ever in a men's bathroom post game, post show. There you go. That's what we're walking into, and then we have to get up this ladder, and then finding access to open that ladder or get the key to open up the lock that allows us up that ladder because you can't leave the ladder exposed during the game because there's people in there. They can't just go up on the roof. Sometimes that's challenging, and you don't have time to get it, and you just figure out other ways to get up there. To get to
let me stop for 1 second because I want to defend Buffalo. Every stadium is nuts. People may think, they're these magnificent, huge, wonderful places that are built and efficient. Maybe for the fans, maybe for the team, not for production. Yeah. Every stadium, and I've been doing this a long time. The new stadiums, the old they all suck. There's always a challenge to do it. So continue along.
Yeah. There's always challenges in all of them, right? Like if it's kind of like pick your poison each week because some places you go to, you're like, okay, the weather is going to be really good, or it's an indoor stadium, or you don't have to deal with any of that. Like that's always number one challenge. Like what's the weather going to be like? Is it indoors? Is it outdoors? Then it's like, okay, well, the mount for that stadium could be like super easy, but to get to the position, you got to climb 300 stairs or go up a ladder and use a pulley system to get your gear up there and do all that. So that's like, okay, yeah, the mount's easy, but there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of climbing around. Or vice versa, where like, okay, there's no climbing around, but the mount is pretty involved and it's like hanging over something. And it's just kind of annoying to build rather than get to. Or the fiber runs are really long, or whatever. I could go down a whole list of different challenges. But some of the newer stadiums are like Vegas. What is it? Allegiant Stadium. SoFi is really good. Atlanta is really good, but yeah, so challenges for all.
So let's talk about your. Okay, so you get the cameras up, you fax out, everything's working. What are you doing? How do you operate that camera that's where you just described where it is, way up in heaven, and you're not there? Where are you?
Right. So there are 3 robo guys that are I operate those 2 goal line ones that I said. Then another operator operates the sideline ones, which are opposite of each other in each end zone, looking down the sidelines. And then there's another guy to my left that does the ones on the goalposts. They're all robos. We're all in the D unit. That's our like robo truck, along with 2 other people. One guy that does the pylon cameras, the little cameras that are inside the first down markers for our show, and then one of the transmission guys. But basically, it's just we're in one of the TV trucks outside in the compound, and then I work in tandem with my EVS operator, who's also doing the 4K cutout, because that's what these cameras are. They're a 4K image. So I'm basically just following the ball with one of the cameras, and then the other one's a lock off behind, and I just keep reframing it before the play starts. So I'm operating 2 cameras, but physically at one given time, I'm only moving one of them. The other one's a lock off for the back, but my EVS operator has access to both of those cameras. So if something happens in the frame, either the locked off one or the me following the ball, he can then use that 4K image, excuse me, to zoom in to, if he zooms into 200%, that's a full HD image. He could zoom in past that, but then it starts to get like a little grainy or whatever. But those 4 cameras, sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Those 4 cameras, my 2 goal lines and the 2 sideline ones are you'll see those if like there's like a toe tap on the sideline to see if he's in or out, or if my particular one's on the goal line, if there's a big pile and they don't know if he got in or not, so they can zoom in a lot closer to the image to see if the ball crossed the plane, or to see if his toes hit the white out of bounds line, or if he was in. So it's a lot more for those like very specialty replays. It's not like you'll never see our cameras live.
Yeah, so let me explain again, a lot of our people aren't broadcast nor tech at your level. EVS is basically, and I'm gonna do this real simple, EVS is a recorder, digital recorder of what's going on. And EVS operators are allowed, they can jog back and forth. They can see, okay, here's Frank's shot. I saw it. Okay, oh, here's a cool shot. Just cut down to here. And an EVS operator can cut that one replay or that one section out of the entire run of Frank's camera. And then that doesn't go directly to air. That goes through whether or not the director or producers or whoever want to see that clip. So they'll look at it, they'll preview it, and then decide whether it goes up. And all of this is happening within an instant. So if any of you think about the game, it's boom, play happens, boom, here's the replay. Boom, here's another angle of the replay. Here's another angle of the replay. That's all what Frank's talking about.
And I will add, just because our particular cameras, these 4800, the 4K style of them, there's an added element of that operator, the EVS side of it, because he's built, like I said, you can zoom in. So he's building this zoomed in image of a replay. It's not just rolling back and then playing it from that spot. It's rolling it back, then finding the area, zooming in, and building this 200% zoomed in image, and then he'll play that, because that's the specialty part of these particular cameras.
Okay, so now we got the cameras built. We got you operating. We understand where you're operating from. And so just run down the week real quickly. And it's good because you've done this throughout the last couple of months. There's a lot of them, and it's rinse repeat throughout. But What's the week? Like I said, it's not just the day.
Yeah. So Monday, Monday is our travel day, strictly a travel day. And, there's people traveling in from, some people are traveling from Sunday night that do Sunday night football and Thursday night football. Um, for the most part, our crew is traveling in Monday at any time of day. You get in, and we have a Tuesday is our first set day for the entire show. It's not just like our cameras that come in. I mean, our show is like there's I think like 9 trucks. So it's a huge show. It's like a Super Bowl size football show every single week. Tuesday is our big setup day where we're unpacking our stuff from our row packs and everything, and then getting together what we need for whatever that particular build is, whatever depending on what stadium we're at. And then Sam and I, who's the sideline 4K operator, we go around and we help each other, right? Like, so we kind of build in tandem. We're responsible for those 4 cameras, the 2 goal lines and the 2 sidelines. So we try and get, if we can, if it's an easy stadium, maybe we'll get all 4 mounts up and the cameras up if it's an easy stadium. If it's not an easy stadium, sometimes we'll try and just make sure we get all 4 mounts up with the robo heads on them and not the cameras on yet, and then we'll do that on Wednesday. So Wednesday's our second setup day, and then usually we have like a late afternoon fax with all the other cameras while everybody else is doing their own setup for the week. We'll have like a late camera fax, and usually we have to wait around till like time of day, depending on where we are, West Coast, East Coast, daylight savings or not. And then Thursday we're in a little bit later. That's show day. Again, depending on what time zone we're in. We have our camera tape beating, kind of a lot, just faxing out, buttoning up anything else that needs to be, dressing cables if we had left them out, because sometimes we're not going to waste time doing that. We'd rather just get everything up and then tidy up our cables like up in the concourse or wherever we're built, just so it's not in the fan's way or anything like that. Then we're on air. After all that setup, the game's 3 hours. And then we strike it all in like 3 hours. So it's like 3 days of setup and 3 hours of strike. That's like kind of like our our motto of like the whole show. It's like, it's a show that takes I'm talking about the entire thing, not just us personally, those 4 cameras. Like there's, I said it's an enormous show with hundreds of people on the crew that it takes 3 days to set a show up that happens in 3 hours and strikes in 3 hours.
And when you say strike,
and then moves on to the next,
it's not just disconnect cables, take things down, and leave it in a pile.
No, it's pack up the entire. I mean, you're moving out. You move in on Monday, and then you move out on Thursday night at midnight. So it's whatever you brought with you, whatever you used for that show, you move out right after.
So again, it always reminded me of the movies I saw, like what circuses did. Like when circuses were on tour and they would pull into a city and then they start building tents and then the elephants in the cages and then all this mess and all this noise.
Absolutely.
And that always, anytime I worked it, there was always a minute when I went, this is like an effing circus. It
is most certainly a traveling circus with like all aspects of it. Like that big of a show, moving in and out, doing the same thing, but in different cities, city to city. And then like all the characters that go along with it that are involved in our crew. It is most certainly a traveling circus.
Yeah. And we actually started another show because all of us who know that actually called Road Case Stories, because the characters, that's half the gig, is learning to adjust. It's what keeps us together.
That's what helps you deal with all.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what helps you. If you have a good crew and you enjoy all the people that you work with and everybody kind of keeps it light, that's what, keeps all the stresses of everything I just explained
Yeah,
kind
and
of
they
under
are.
wraps.
There is a lot. I'm going to get back to something. I want to make sure I balance all our time because I really want to stay on tech and how
Yeah.
that part works. But camera meetings and learning. There's a whole thing. There's a story that's told during a game that producers and execs and all those people put together that everybody has to be.
Yeah.
It's a band. Everybody has to play. These are the songs we're going to play tonight. This is the stuff we're going to focus on,
Mhm.
and then hope the game fits into all of that. So talk real quick what a camera meeting or a production meeting it really entails.
Yeah, I mean it's exactly what you just explained. Like we'll get an email the night before the game, like late like Wednesday evening from our producer and from our director, which is notes for the game from like the director of like certain responsibilities that everybody would have, and then the entire exactly what you just said, literally the script. It's not a script as in the sense of like this is how the game's going to go, but exactly what you said. Like these are the storylines we're going to follow. This is how these teams have been. This is what is going on with each team, with each part of that team, offense, defense, their coaches, specific players to look out for. Hey, they just traded for this person, or they thought their record was going to be this. It's actually this, or whatever that particular story is that week. So we'll get, and it's a pretty. I mean, it's about I would say 10 pages of storyline like that our producer writes, and then we go through that during the camera and tape meeting, which is yeah. So like the director will go through like he more will hit times of the schedule of the day first. Like this guy person has to be here for this interview. Like all the responsibilities of the schedule was more what the director's hitting. Then the producer comes in and explains all the and goes through the whole rundown of the storyline, which is exactly what you were just saying, which is about I would say 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then add in the director's notes on either side of that. Yeah, it's probably about a 45-minute to an hour meeting, depending on where we
Which
are.
goes back to from an organizational side, which is why you want to have the same crew or a similar crew
Yeah.
because everybody gets the rhythm of what it is. I'm sorry, I do everything as an analogy to music, but that's what that is. You want the same front of house guy
Yeah.
mixing the band every week, and you want the same, on stage guys. You want the same setups. You want the same music. You just want to change the songs. An artist could just change a song,
Right.
so it's the same thing with games. So let's jump forward. I'm looking at my little list here, and so now let's go to hockey for a minute before we get in, because you did a huge baseball run, and there's some really cool tech that I want to talk about. But what happens in hockey that's any different than what you just did?
I mean, it's still Robo, but that's not a national. They're not. It's not a national package. That's a my local MSG network has Islanders, Rangers, and Devils. So I bounce between those, and I do one of the Robos, whether it be the speed shot, which is built on the in between the penalty boxes on the red line, looking over the glass, or the right rocker goal judge, depending on who you talk to. That's what they're called, which is built right behind the right goaltender, again, up on a pole looking over the glass, and that's a robo. And then at Devils, there's a overhead uh, robo cam as well, built in the scoreboard looking down, and that's a lot more for scheme replays. It's just a lot cooler of a look because you can see a play developing. So yeah, I mean, for the most part, those are a lot less challenging just because a lot of the stuff doesn't stay built up in the air and it's not a traveling show. It's just they will leave that the robo head, the camera, all that stuff assembled. It's a lot more like, okay, I go here, I get the pole that's built already, and I just got to put it in place and then put the camera on top of it, connect all the cables, which is always the same thing. You're in the same arena. Everything should be going to the same place. The operating station, yes, it's remote in like a press box or the robo room in that building, but that stays built. So it's not coming in like Thursday Night Football where you're walking into an arena and you got to like figure everything out. I mean, we're walking in the day of the game at 1 p.m. and we're built by the latest 4 p.m. and the game's at 7. And those are a lot more routine. I mean, stuff still happens. There's still challenges that happen that come up, and or gear, over a season, some gear is gonna fail, or you got to fix things or swap things out. Like that just happens though.
Yeah.
So but for the most part, that's more of a routine. Plus, it's just fun doing hockey.
I was just going to say, let's talk a second about the difference between these sports. Or maybe I should wait till we get to baseball. Nah, I'm going to do it now. So compare hockey to football. Like, your controls are similar of what you're doing, but the game is very different.
Yeah, similar controls. The different actual controller, but the same idea: joystick, zoom, focus wheel. As far as the game, yeah. Well, it's just like I have different responsibilities in either of those, like what I'm supposed to be doing. Like that whole 4K thing, like it took a while for me. Like the first season I was doing it, it took a bit for me to realize that like I follow the action with one camera for football. If let's say like okay, so I'm on both goal lines, right? So I have one on the left side of the goal line, one on the right side of each end zone. If the play is coming left to right, I'm using the right, which is camera 39 for me. I'm using the right goal line camera to follow, to basically just keep the action in the center of the frame, while the backside one is just locked off. I usually do it so you can see most of the line and then like the slot receivers. So if anything happens in that frame, again, my EVS operator can zoom in on like one player if there's a false start or somebody got hurt, something like that. But on the other side, when I'm following the ball, I'm not using my zoom at all. Basically, I when I frame it, I'm just moving the camera and keeping whatever I need to keep in frame. And then he does the zoom, because if I start zooming, then when he tries to build that replay sequence, now I'm moving in one point or moving out, and he's trying to move in, and then and then it just gets it's too hard to do, and especially having to build something that fast in between plays for it to hopefully get a replay out of it. So that took me a bit to do that. Whereas in hockey, I mean, such a fast-paced sport, and like I don't have a responsibility like that. It's not like I'm following the puck as best I can, following the play, following the action, and especially on that, if I'm doing the speed shot, which is that one on the red line, I mean, that's like back and forth quick, and it's a lot. It's just higher. It's my favorite thing to shoot because it's higher. It's fast paced. Like you're like kind of locked in for. I mean, like football is 7-second sprints, even, which, there's a lot more downtime. There's a lot more timeouts. It's a little slower pace.
Yeah.
of a sport. Whereas hockey is like, you're kind of locked in for like that 20 minutes of intermission. Then you sit for 10 minutes in between periods. Yeah. And it just moves a lot faster.
Is your camera live? Can the director call that live, or is that's also going to an EVS?
Yeah. I mean, it goes to an EVS, but they'll use the speech. They'll use all of them. The speed shot, they use the overhead. They'll use not necessarily live, because that's just like a wild thing to cut to.
Right.
Maybe like in the beginning of the period at a face-off, because it's right over the face-off dot at center ice. They'll use that to like push down, and then they're off of it. And like that's usually one of the first replays, just because it shows, especially on like a scoring play, it shows the play first, and then you can get to the whatever other cameras. But yeah, the speed shot, the one at the red line, and the goal, the right rocker, goal judge, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, those will get used live.
Cool.
And like basically like a lot of the times they'll get used live for the speed shots, particularly, is on a power play. Say the team that's on the power play is behind their own net, starting a play. Like he'll start on me, and as long as I keep the puck in frame, or if there's not like a long pass where I'm not just going to like whip, the director will stay with you as long as you're kind of gracefully keeping the puck and the player in play, and then he'll cut basically when they start to enter the other zone. They'll cut back to camera one.
All right, before we move, I have one quick question. You never played hockey. You never followed hockey.
No, but I played a lot. I played a lot of NHL.
That's wild, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, I never played hockey. I never watched it until like, I don't know. I was probably like 20, 21
Yeah.
when I started watching it, and then started playing that video game with like all my friends. Like I would come home from Devil or Ranger games and then like hop on the Xbox and play NHL like with my friends.
And is that part of is that a training? Could you say that helps your coordination?
Absolutely. I don't know if it's the coordination necessarily for that particular sport. It's more it I guess builds your instincts of the game.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's a video game, but like it's still hockey. Like
right.
And I mean between that and then like the more I watched hockey, whether I'm noticing it or not, like when I'm watching it, like I know who's doing what in that shot or in the show, right? Like I know what how certain shows should be cut, how a hockey show should be shot. And so like I watch other people that I know are really good that I'm working the overhead robo, but I'm still watching like the guy who's doing, when I first started, I was like paying close attention to the guy that was doing speed shot because I knew he was really good. And I was like, all right, like I'm going to do a lot of the stuff that he's doing.
Okay.
So it was kind of a mix of all of that.
So yeah. I'm going to go to the weird one, which is the outlier that you just did that just as a sport, I think it's bizarre, is this bare-knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how what you used technologically and what the hell was going on.
Yeah, for that we were, first of all, yeah, I've never done a bare knuckle boxing before. What a wild sport. But a lot of hype around it. Like Conor McGregor owns it, so it's like it's getting a lot of.
Oh yeah, no, it's
becoming a lot more popular.
You think it's been around forever? It's just wild. Well, I guess it has in bars, but not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what it is. Anyway, but I had, what was I doing on it? We had a jitta on it, a jitta cam, jib in the air.
Explain jitta.
Upside down robotic. Yeah, I am. Upside down inverted jib that is hung on a piece of truss that is suspended in the air, and it is robotic in a dual operated robotic. So the pilot can swing it around 360 and have it elevate up and down. So it's a big turret that's hanging from a robotic turret that spins in a circle connected to a 30-foot arm in this case, but it can be other lengths. With a camera on the end of it, weights on the other, just like a regular jib would be that's on the ground. And then the pilot, which is what I was doing, would have control of, like I said, the rotation and the elevation of the arm, and working in tandem with Wade, actually, who was operating the camera for that. So he has the control of the robotic head that's on the end of this arm. And we also, I forgot about that, we were also on 80 feet of track. So the whole truss is 80 feet. We build a track on that, and then the jitta is mounted onto that track, a little car, basically, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, that I use. Did I have foot pedals? But anyway, I can move that track and move the whole arm left and right from 80 feet one way in the arena, or 80 feet the opposite way in the arena. And that's more like for repositioning, for like I would be all the way left for like the walkouts of the fighters walking down the stage to the thing, and like being able to follow them as they're walking out. And then like for like a fight position, I would move maybe like another 30 feet back to to have the car parked in that spot, so then I can have a good coverage of the fight with the arm and the camera.
How do you and Wade coordinate that? Because that's a weird thing. That's like driving a car. Somebody's using the gas and the brake, and somebody else is steering.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird thing to compare this to, but because it's not like I've ever done it, and I know it's just a weird thing to compare something to, but I feel like it would be more like I'm driving. We'll do it this way for all my people who played Halo growing up, or any type of game that had somebody driving a car and had a gunner in the back. That's what it would be. I'm just driving the car and I'm putting you in position. You're the one that's got to hit the targets.
Got it. Good and good.
I got that. That's literally it. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only Halo, but that's
video games.
That's an obvious military.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. I know you don't like using him. I don't like using him either. But that's the easiest way of doing it. Is like I'll drive you around, and Wade is him and I work really well together when we do that, because I'm usually always piloting when it's him and I. And he's like, dude, he's like, he basically just says like, I trust you to put me in the position. He's like, so I'll just follow you.
You got it.
And there's definitely like times where he'd be like, hey, like, can we try this? Can we go up into the lights and then like drop down over that? Like, so it's not like I'm just doing everything, but like, so it's a tandem, and we're sitting next to each other. So it's not like we don't have any communication. We're sitting next to each other. We also have we both have headsets on, and we have a love channel. So it's only us two on that audio channel, on that comms channel. But depending on if it's a loud arena or not, depending on what it is, like we can just talk to each other. A lot of the times it also becomes like hand signals, because I like what I'm operating, I have two joysticks because I have elevation and rotation, and then he has a joystick and zoom. So we can't always like key in or do anything like that. So sometimes I'll just I'll just point like a direction that I'm going, or there's like a lot of weird hand signals of like, I'm going to drop down. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to drop down. I don't have to say that verbally. It's just,
that's awesome.
A hand signal.
That takes a lot of trust
and
with each other, and a lot of, I think trust would be the big word, because you got to trust that he knows and you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there would be, like, I think I did explain it, and like maybe he interpreted it differently, or vice versa, and we're like, oh, all right, whatever.
Right.
But like it still worked. It still looked fine. It was just like, that's not what I thought you were going to do.
And what about the director? I mean, you two are up there playing around, but the director, it's his shot.
It's show to show. It's like different boxing, UFC. Some of them are like very, very specific of like where they need you to land and they need you to do this and do that. But that show in particular was just like kind of wild. And it's very new. It's very new also. But we worked enough like just boxing before, like we understand how it's shot. Before the bell rings, like we're gonna do like a big shot so you can see the whole arena, and then kind of land on the ring, and like now they're fighting, and then we'll cut to something else, and then we'll kind of just hang around there during the round, and then when there's 5 seconds left, I'll start pulling the arm away to do the out. Okay, now we're done with that round, and then I'll find a new spot to do an in from there. I'll go up into the lights, and I kind of just I'll keep changing. Wade and I will keep changing it up. So I'll put him in a different position to come into the round differently.
And just in case anybody's,
and then
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and then the director's also telling us like, oh yeah, don't worry about it this round, or like out of this round, give me a big like shot because the crowd's gonna go nuts or whatever. Like we're still listening to him.
I hope so.
It's just like a lot of it's just like he knows that we know what we're doing.
Trust.
Unless there's a specific things that he wants to see, or at the end of a round or whatever.
And then you have, I mean, he's also director, also has a complement of handhelds and other cameras all over that he can pull shots from. and they're all doing what they got to do.
Yeah.
So he's basically the conductor, directing all of what's going to go. Okay, we're closing on time here, and the big conversation is the dog show. Now, the big conversation is is baseball. So walk us through that technology and how you ended up in that whole series and Big S series, and what that was all about.
Yeah. So I was pulled in. I mean, this was all through Fletcher, and they've had their postseason baseball crew for however many years. Like the same kind of, a lot of the same people are always working it, and like there's you know an American League, National League. So there's a lot of people out on both sides. This is the first time I really got pulled into doing baseball, and it was more because I had a little bit of experience using this new technology that Fletcher has like a really good hold on, and like they're starting to use it in a lot more applications. And the first time I really had any experience with it was doing the Roland Garros, the French Open, using that technology, which is the Nucleus 4K camera, a little similar of a what I do on Thursday Night Football, but the camera's this big as opposed to a full size camera. It's not on a robotic head, and although it can be, and it's also I'm doing the EVS side of it, the cutouts and the move and the robotic move within that frame. So I'm kind of doing both rather than somebody else doing whatever move they want to do with my shot. So in this particular week for ALCS, we were in Toronto first, which sucked because they lost or they beat the Yankees. So it could have been home. It could have been more of a home game for me, but went to Canada instead. So for ALCS, we had one on each foul pole, and we wanted to get like a robbed home run and being able to play it back at 240 frames per second and do a move within that. Again, these aren't not a live camera. It can be, but you wouldn't use it in this particular spot. It's more for those replays of a home run that's just clearing the wall and maybe a fan is interfering or a robbed home run or something happening right at like somewhere in the foul pole areas, where like another camera, like a person can't stand there and operate a camera. I mean, these things are literally almost in some of the stadiums were connected to the foul pole, kind of built out a little bit, not in like in fair territory or anything like that, but and then looking down the actual wall. So that was in Toronto, and then to Seattle for that series, which was the ALCS. Then for when World Series happened, take that same technology, the Nucleus camera, the Fletcher has, which they've had for years, dirt cams, which are buried a box with two cables coming out of it that has one goes to a camera and one goes to a 4-pin power, and it's a box with the elements that need to run or power that camera, buried in the ground of like the infield, one at home plate, one at second, and there was one at third for in one of the stadiums. I think it was Toronto. So those are buried in the ground. They've had those before. Not to say it's like those whatever. I mean, it's still like a lot to get those things to work, and keep going with those. Sorry, I just kind of lost my train of thought. But then the newer part was take that same Nucleus technology I was talking about, the 4K cutout and the 240 frames per second, all of that, and put that in one of these dirt cam boxes and wirelessly or bury that in the ground and then do all of that stuff that I was talking about on my end, on like the software side of it, of rolling those replays and all of that, doing it wirelessly, which was like, was told like it's not going to happen, it's never going to happen. And this had nothing to do with me, like as far as making it work, or like saying, yeah, we can have that work. This is what came from Fletcher and came from the other techs that are part of that Nucleus Antelope company out of Germany, which Brian from Fletcher and Ani, who's one of the Antelope techs from Germany, like were the two guys pushing like, no, we'll make this work. We're going to make it work. And it did. It took a lot, but it worked and it looked amazing. We buried that box behind first base and had like an incredible look of like looking up at the first baseman, and then like you could see people leading off, and then you could see right down and see the pitcher looking at you. But all that same technology, like of Thursday night, of the 4K image, the cutout, and being able to make this robo move inside of a frame, and then being able to replay that at 240 frames per second, which is a very super slow-mo in this image, and doing that all wirelessly. That's that's originating from a box. And I say a box, there's a lot of components in it to protect their intellectual property. I'm not going to go through what's in the box from Seven. But yeah, doing that whole process wirelessly and having that whole thing work like very well and getting that to air was a huge accomplishment. Number one for Fletcher, because it was a brand new thing that everybody was like, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. And and it worked. It looked great. And it was like, for me, it was just like, all right, this is really cool being part of baseball playoffs for the first time, let alone a World Series. That was like one of the most exciting World Series that was ever played. And then like the best part was them trusting me to operate this brand new technology that had never been like really seen before, especially at the level of the World Series. So it was really cool. Like for all of those things, it still like hasn't like fully sunk in.
Yeah. There's a lot here to unpack, and we don't really have the time to get into it. But I do want to just land on one thing that I knew from years of being on fields was when you told me you were digging a hole in the ground next to first base. I started laughing because I know groundskeepers. Groundskeepers at that level are really, really serious about their fields.
Yeah, they weren't like super excited. Like I said, that at least it was fortunate that like the Dodgers were in the world, not fortunate because they beat the Yankees. But they were in the World Series last year. Like some of these groundskeepers have seen the dirt cams before, so they knew the size of them. So like that part wasn't a big deal. It was this new one that we were doing at first base. We're just like, oh, like yeah, we have one more, and they're like, all right, yeah, you can do it at first base. We know what these things look like. We know what it entails. We know you need to get access to them like between innings, like if they get kicked or whatever. So we have a tech, Ollie from Cornwall, England. He's the dirt cam tech. Also, like very good friend of mine. Him and I have become very close from U.S. Open years, from Olympics stuff. Anyway, so he's running around out there, cleaning these prisms, the lens, and all that. But then this box needs a lot more in it to run everything I just explained. Like there's a lot going on in there. There's a lot of processing going on. There's a lot of information being moved wirelessly. So there's a lot of stuff in this box. So it's not much bigger, but it's significantly bigger than the other typical dirt cam boxes. And when they saw that, the guys, I think we were in LA, they were like, what the F is that, dude? We're like, yeah, nah, it's the same size. It's got to go. It's gonna keep going. And we're like, dude, this is gonna be the shot. It's gonna look cool. They're like, they don't care about that. They're like, we're there at whatever time it is at night, like the night before the World Series, digging it like a 2 foot hole in the ground. It's like, and like on no sleep, traveling from city to city and time zone to time zone, country. Really, I mean, we're flying to Canada. You're not like thinking about like how insane that is
Yeah, no,
until it's like all
no.
over. Like, we're on the field the night before like the World Series, like Game 6,
Yeah.
digging up the ground with like a bunch of people that we just show up at like 6 p.m. from just got in from LA, dug the other one up out of from the field in LA the night before, flew to Canada, show up at their field, and we're like, hey guys, like we need to dig this in the ground tonight. And they're like, okay.
Hey, I mean, there's so much diversity to what you've done. And there's what we just covered is literally 2.5 months of your world. But
Yeah.
you shot for us at 17, you were second camera on the sidelines of a Super Bowl, and that's at 17. So from that point, you could even go back a couple more years, but from that point to where you are now, you've had to learn a lot. You've had to see new technology, not be intimidated by it, figure out how to get in on it, and that has propelled your career literally to the top rung of the industry. But two things could happen. If you stop learning new tech, you could obsolete with the old tech, which is the critical point for everybody. If you obsolete, your skill set still has to be tremendous. You still have to know your craft, framing, following, all the other stuff, but you also have to have an instinct to technology. So the quick question is, how do you keep up with, how did you learn new technology? Because there's no school to go to. How did you keep evolving the technical side of your skill set?
I would say the biggest, I mean, you kind of said part of it. It's just like you got to accept it. You got to accept the new challenges or the new whatever the tech is. Like I don't care what it is. It's not like, oh, that's not cool or I don't think it's going to work or whatever. Like it's not like I won't do it. Like I'll do anything. And I happen to be in a good position because of other people that have either saw that I was always interested or always wanting to do new stuff or willing to learn, and like I feel like I can kind of about like work with anybody. um so there's people in like certain positions at Fletcher or at Jitta or whatever that I've built enough trust with where they're happy with me carrying out or want me maybe on a show to carry out a certain new thing because they know, one, like I'm going to help no matter however I can to make sure that it gets done and it gets done well, and I'll spend some time wanting to learn whatever the new thing is. And it's like you said, it's not like I'm not going to a school to like learn these new skills or anything like that. I'm going to people in the industry that are developing these new things. So it's like I'm kind of learning a lot of these new skills like as they're being built.
Right.
Which is really, I mean that in itself is just really cool because then you can be a part of and it's not just me. There's other, especially with the whole nucleus thing. These are now being put on hockey packages. They're being put on other shows, and it's a growing technology that's there's a few of us that are a part of the Fletcher team that, especially when we were at Roland Garros, like I said, it's a very new and continuing developing technology. Spent a lot on the software side as well. There's constant updates, but a lot of those updates are being dictated by the people that are operating it because there's these guys in Germany and at Fletcher that are building it to make it work and do all that. But then there's like the people that actually have to use it who are like, hey, it would be kind of cool if like this could do this, or like why doesn't this look this way? Why it would be a
Yep.
lot easier workflow if this could move to here and this could do that, and like that's happening. I mean, and that was a lot. If you go back to any of the U.S. Open trace stuff with Musselman, it's the exact same thing. And to me, that's why like, I mean, Fletcher's very good at that. Like always wanting to push to the next thing. They're always looking at the like, okay, what can we do that's even cooler? What's the new technology? How can we keep pushing everything forward? But also like listening and having a lot of input from us as the freelancers, the operators and the techs and all that to help also advance
Yep.
that. So it's a big tandem thing.
And that you just landed on. I'm going to close with it, and that's what I try to make sure I build into people's heads is that creativity doesn't necessarily mean you're a storyteller. Creativity means you're a visionary. You see things that aren't there yet from an engineering side. So if you're an engineer and you're very skilled at what you do, but then you have like a visionary person who's kind of on both sides of that, go, hey, can you build a widget that can do this? And then he'll build it or she'll build it. But then you need the operators feeding in what you just said. Hey, this is really cool, but you know what would be really cool is if I could do this while I'm doing that, or if it could do that and this. And as long as those companies and those engineers are open-minded, which is the critical part, because a lot of engineers aren't. They do, I built this and this is how it works and go away. But if they can keep looking at the world and saying, I got input and I make that change, then that company keeps advancing as you just illustrated. So everybody's learning as they're going forward. And for people who want to get in on that, you have to have, Frank said something that you should actually roll back and listen to, is you have to get along with everybody. You have to have a vibe that they respect not only your skills, but you as a person. And you're not being an asshole when you're trying to say, it sucks because it doesn't do this. Those things, you're going to alienate people quick and you're going to get booted.
Yeah. And there's between Jitta, Fletcher, I mean, and a lot of this, I believe it all started from like, I mean, you brought up being 17 and going to do that, like all of this, at least that part of my personality, that all started from Pharaoh in the beginning. Cause that's just how I grew up. So like, I don't know anything any differently. And I mean, Pharaoh, one, just being a Scacciaferro. Number two, growing up in your company, whether I was your son or not, just growing up like through that, that just instilled however I think anyway. So I was able to then move, into some other things. One being like with the company like Fletcher, Jitacam, all these companies, and they illustrate exactly what you said. And they have techs in place that like to work, techs, engineers, visionaries, whatever, all these things that you want to call them. They all embody a lot of the same traits that I want to be associated with. Right. Whether it be like Brian, a lead at Fletcher, Mike Musselman, a lead at Fletcher, Sion, Andy Suzuki, who led a lot of this, like the baseball playoffs is like his thing. He was a big person who pushed to get me involved in it, which was amazing. So.
And last, as we close this out, and thanks for taking a lot more time than we've ever taken on any of our shows, which means this has got to get split in two. The other side of this is you're not so big in your brain that you won't take other gigs. So you do things that maybe aren't as challenging, but therefore I'll go to the graduations at Yankee Stadium. You're running a jib at that. It's not that big of a deal. Doing Giants post game, simple gig. It's not a big deal, but you'll still pay back to the people who brought you to the dance. And you'll still, you enjoyed the crew thing. We're all still the same people, but that's important that you don't start not you, but people don't get to this level and then start blowing people away and say, no, I'm not doing that. So, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, there's a it's a loyalty thing, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a loyalty, a respect, and it's all
and people learn from you. I mean, whether you know it or not, people watch you. They watch your behavior. They know how you're doing things, and they emulate that thing. Realizing, bottom line is, this dude's successful. He's in all these other things. What's the magic? Well, how did he get there? So that's kind of what I wanted to just roll through with all of this. And that's it. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Cool.